All right, what is going on, guys? So unfortunately, I wasn't able to make a video at the launch of the new iPads as well as the new Apple TV 4K, which a lot of people aren't talking about, just for personal reasons. But I do want to talk about the new iPads because I am a person who has the regular iPad as well as the iPad Pro. So I just want to give you guys my thoughts on the new things that Apple has announced and kind of go from there. And I will be having these products later in the week so I can give you guys my full review and comparisons to the older devices that I have. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the new base model iPad, one of the most popular iPads. And first things first that I want to say is I do love the new colors, but I'm a little upset because they don't have a graphite space gray or just like a darker color. I understand for the entry-level iPads, they're trying to go for the more fun, more expressive colors, but I always do think that two colors should be staple. Like a white or silver or like a black. Those two colors should always be standard for tech products in general. So a little sad to see, but we do have new colors as well. You can also see here that they have a new keyboard, which is similar to the Magic Keyboard that we have on the newer iPad Pros, but I can get into that a little bit later. So scrolling down a little bit more, you guys can also see that we have a brand new display. So if you guys don't know, on the older iPads here, we have the older design with the home button at the bottom, and then we have this big portion up here. But with the newer iPads, we don't have that issue. We have this full display, and that is what is coming to the new iPad, which is great because it's nice that the entire iPad lineup is starting to look all the same. The other thing I want to mention is that the Touch ID is still apparent on the new iPad. It's going to be on the lock button as well. The one downside is the older Apple Pencil is still a thing. I have my iPad Pro here for demonstration purposes. So this is the Apple Pencil 2, and this charges wirelessly or magnetically through the side, and it is a great pencil. However, when it comes to the older Apple Pencil, it just doesn't offer, I would say, the full suite that this Apple Pencil 2 has. And it's a little disappointing that we're getting this newer updated design, but we still have to charge through the lightning cable, or I believe they might have an adapter coming out now, but I feel as though they should just gut the original Apple Pencil and just make like an Apple Pencil SE or something that is for entry-level models. But kind of sad to see that we don't have this newer Apple Pencil on the base level iPads. But continuing on this page here, you can see that a lot of the talk during the announcement was stuff that was related to iPadOS 16. So I wouldn't stress too much about losing out on features like that. The whole multitasking capabilities is great. There's a new processor. Don't want to get into the nitty gritty of this, but we have the A14 Bionic chip, which is great for doing a lot of work on a tablet. It's no secret that the iPad is probably one of the most powerful tablets on the market for consumers. So, we're getting another increase in this department as well. So I can talk about the Magic Keyboard now. Before, all you really had was this smart folio cover or a keyboard that honestly I would say isn't the greatest, but it does give you the ability to type on the keyboard. But now we have the keyboard that is really reminiscent of the more expensive iPads on the base model now. And we also have a trackpad as well. And as much as I don't want to say this, but using this Magic Keyboard with an iPad definitely makes it feel like it's closer to a computer. I know in the tech sphere, a lot of people are against calling the iPad a computer due to its limitations, but I will die on this rock by saying that this keyboard or the Magic Keyboard paired with the iPad just bridges that gap even closer. So it's nice to see that we get this once again on the base level iPad. Something that I would probably recommend over just getting a regular smart folio cover that we've had in the past. The other huge update is that they moved the camera to the side. So for example, the camera has always been at the top here on the iPad. Even on my iPad Pro, it's at the top. Now they're moving it in landscape, which I don't know why this took so long, but now the camera is on the side of the iPad. And I would say this is something that should have been done many years ago, because whenever you use an iPad, or at least in my instance, you always hold it in the landscape mode. And sometimes your thumbs are holding onto the camera or blocking the camera. In my case, for the iPad, I'm blocking Face ID. So it's nice that we're able to have the camera here. And also when you're talking to people, it kind of sucks when it's held up like this. So when it's in landscape mode, it's definitely in a better spot. So nice to see. And I believe they also have center stage as well, which is great. Center stage is great for FaceTiming, essentially. Also, we have a ultra wide camera on the front, so that's nice. And 12 megapixel camera on the back. I believe it's bigger as well. Yep, it's a bigger camera now. So that is pretty much the base level iPad, getting a nice refresh. We're on the 10th generation, better speakers as well. I would say this is a nice, solid upgrade from the previous generation of iPad. And this is something that I might actually pick up. And I believe it has USB-C. Still not on the iPhone. Anyway, so that's the iPad. Let's go over to the iPad Pro. The Pro, the device that I use the iPad for. Not really, but iPad Pro. So honestly, after looking at this, it seems like they really just added the M2 processor, and that's about it. All jokes aside with the iPad Pro, I was really trying to figure out the main differences in the new iPad coming out this year, but it really just seems like it's a minor refresh to the iPad Pro by adding in that M2 processor. I believe they're adding in better cameras as well, because they're really trying to push the movie quality, or I should say cinematic experience that you can record with the iPad Pro. We do have Wi-Fi 6E, which is great for things that require very fast connections or speeds over the air. So it's nice to see that we have this in the iPad Pro. Makes sense to start it off here and, not as common devices and then trickle them down to more common devices like the iPhone, not the base iPad. That'd be a little ridiculous. But everything here is pretty much the same as last year. The other thing that I really want to showcase is this 12 millimeter experience that you get with the iPad. So whenever your pencil is really close to an icon, there starts to have some animations due to the technology of the pencil being able, or I should say the display is able to detect the pencil in relation to where it is above the screen. So it's like a hover over effect. Looked really cool in the presentation that they gave. So it's nice to see that we're getting more features within the iPad Pro. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, the last thing, iPad keyboards, I already talked about this before, but this is like the Magic Keyboard. This is for iPad Pro, but the Magic Folio is $249. I didn't know it was that expensive. Okay, I take back what I said at the beginning of the video, $249. Holy cow, because that is like almost half the cost of the iPad itself. Just get a Bluetooth keyboard and call it a day, or get something from Amazon. It'll do the same thing, trust me. But that trackpad is hard to pass up. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about is Apple TV 4K. And I actually have an Apple TV 4K from last year. Let me go grab it real quick. All right, so this is the Apple TV 4K from last year. Apple did do a refresh for this newer generation here. And I just want to say that I'm a little disappointed in this announcement. It is a minor refresh, which is something that has been apparent across Apple TV in many of its years, just because the product itself is solid. Like I would say, if you want one of the best streaming boxes, it's very hard not to recommend the Apple TV, because in terms of the content it has, in the aspect of the quality that you get in terms of like Dolby Vision, Dolby Atmos, now with HDR10 Plus, the Apple TV box itself, I would say, houses that compared to the other competitors out there. The thing that I'm disappointed with Apple is I think they can capture a much larger audience if they come out with some sort of stick. Like if there was an Apple TV stick where they can compete against models like the Roku, the Fire Stick, Chromecast, like if they are able to target that audience in terms of the price point, I think Apple would just sweep the field. But regardless, let's talk about the new Apple TV 4K. So we have a processor that's better in here than the base iPad. We have the A15 Bionic chip. Let me see. Come on. Don't just talk about regular Apple TV, please. This is what I wanted to talk about. So we have HDR10 Plus. 10 Plus. Now, the one thing I do want to mention is even though your TV might have HDR10, you need to make sure it has HDR10 Plus. If you go out and replace your existing Apple TV 4K with their newer one, expecting your HDR content to look better, that's not going to happen. There's a certification for HDR10 and HDR10 Plus. So if your TV does not have HDR10 Plus, you buying this isn't going to do you any good. So do keep that in mind. But the other thing is this remote here. Siri, this remote, by the way, is way better than what they had before. I have it somewhere. Let me go grab it real quick. So this is Apple TV, the new remote that they came out with, I think last year, a couple years ago. And this is the one they always had before. As you can tell, this is dusty because I don't use this one anymore. The thing that has changed this year with the new one is that they added USB-C. So this does not charge with Lightning anymore. So this, once again, I'm gonna say it till I'm blue in the face. I don't understand why Apple's putting USB-C on all their products except for the freaking iPhone. Like, come on, what is taking you so long? Just do it already. But regardless, we're getting USB-C on the Apple TV remote, which is fantastico. All right, moving on, we have, I believe, HDR. I already talked about HDR10. We are getting HDMI 2.1. Now, in terms of the resolution and the frames that you get, or not frames, the refresh rate that you get on the TVs, I don't know specifically of what it is with HDMI 2.1. Let me just look it up real quick. HDMI 2.1 resolutions. Can't spell, but thanks to Google, I can do that. So HDMI 2.1 gives us 8K 60 or 4K 120 and scales up to 10K. Jesus. And 48 gigabits per second data transfer speed. So if you need that in your Apple TV, go right ahead, buy the new one. But that's pretty much it for Apple TV 4K. The other thing that they did is they broke it down into two sections. So now we have, what's it called? Apple TV 4K with Wi-Fi, and then Apple TV 4K with Ethernet. I believe they always came with Ethernet, but I guess in terms of what people want, since this does have Wi-Fi 6, you can just use Wi-Fi readily available to you in your household and just, save yourself 20 bucks. So that's nice. But if you do want Ethernet, if you want like stable connection whenever you're watching streams and stuff, and also has support for Thread as well, you have to get the Ethernet option as well, and also bumps it up to 128 gigabytes of storage. So personally for me, I'm not going to update my Apple TV 4K because it's just a very solid thing. As well as the iPads, I definitely want to look into upgrading the base iPad, but the iPad Pro I'm probably going to keep. I don't think I'm going to upgrade just because the iPad Pro is just it's leaps and bounds better than a lot of the tablets out there, and that thing is like 4 or 5 years old at this point. So let's end this video because now I'm getting text messages and I got to go. All right, so hopefully you guys found this video informative. Let me know what you guys think about the new iPads that are coming out, as well as the Apple TV, if you're gonna be picking any of them up. But as always, guys, I appreciate every single sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. And Apple, for the love of God, next year, please put USB-C on your iPhone. We are begging you.